Good evening, people. It is about half an hour to the kickoff of Colombia against Argentina in the Copa America final. And my name is Roy, and this will be my Worthless Half a Penny, part 32. And I'm going to talk about soccer. But the title should be of taking sports seriously or not. This is inspired by a post by a Canadian admin after the Canadians national team lost to the Argentina national team. And what he said was, what an amazing effort by Canada to get this far into the World Cup, which I agree. United States and Mexico were not able to. And we're going to talk a little bit about Copa America. Well, we'll see where this goes. I've recorded this video a couple times. It takes a long time to say what I want to say, but I just realized in a nutshell what this person said was basically that he cannot take soccer seriously. And it could be a she. I don't know what the name of the admin. You can't take soccer seriously because of how players fake being fouled on the pitch. And this brings back this entire conversation about why is it that particularly United States and Canada are not into soccer. And that admin was elevating hockey by saying that hockey was an amazing game. And then my response as an illustration of how silly that comment was to say, look, to me, when I watch hockey, what I see is a bunch of grown men swinging sticks up and down. I can't barely see the puck. They're entirely padded. A fight breaks up, in my view, every 4 minutes or so. They're constantly banging on each other. The size of the goal, the ratio goal and goalie is ludicrous. And yet, and then I can say, of course, I don't take it seriously. And yet I do. It was just a way to say this. A lot of people got angry and they started to say how silly soccer is. And again, I want to get into the many reasons why people can think that soccer in particular is silly in the United States and in Canada. And it does happen in other parts of the world, but let's face it, there is a reason why soccer is the favorite sport, the most popular sport in the entire world. Whereas you can find a couple of leagues throughout the world that play hockey, maybe more than that, maybe more than a couple. I would say in over 150 countries, you'll find 20 to 500 national clubs representing and playing and competing for soccer with fans who are passionate religiously. Not taking the sport of soccer seriously is your right, because we always take seriously more the stuff that we love, and I have no argument against that. I think it's natural, but I think that in the end of the day, if you have a little bit of consciousness and self-respect to your own intellect, you'll understand that every sport that requires skill and physical effort and strain, and that begets injuries, and that unfortunately includes golf, needs to be respected because these players work hard to get to where they need to get. However, I'll give you this. It is incredibly annoying to watch players fake fouls, and it is especially annoying when the refs buy into those fouls. So in soccer, basically, there is no coach challenge to review a play, although there has been for not long, for about 10 years, It has been a video assistant referee. I think about 2014. That's when they kind of released it. I could be wrong because I'm not particularly looking into those dates, but I remember when it was released and how it was before it was released. Not that different, to be honest. But basically, what they look for is, and I'm not going to talk about the rules right now so much. I do want to make a video dedicated to talking about soccer and teaching soccer and talking about my knowledge of soccer in general, but that's not it. This one is just to illustrate what kind of respect I think you should give it, right? And so basically, in soccer, you can only review fouls or any other calls if they are a suspicion of a foul that instead of a yellow is supposed to get a red, suspicion of a penalty that was or not given, and offside, meaning basically anything that threatens the structure of the game, whether in an extra goal, which would end up in a victory to whoever team gets that penalty kick, or in the red card, which decreases the number of players, and that does have an effect, sometimes more than others, in a soccer match. It's not like in hockey with the power plays. But regardless, I think that it is ludicrous that players do that, and it's Neymar, by the way, didn't start it, but Neymar made me not like, it turned me off of the Brazilian national team for over a decade because he's like that. He wasn't so much like that in Santos, and the truth is, it started with people trying to actually get him down because he is, I think still is, but was incredibly skilled. Incredibly skilled to be in the same conversation as Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi if he had played his career correctly, but he didn't. And he stained the Brazilian national team in a way that there are certain elements that he's responsible for the decay of the Brazilian national team, which has been very difficult to watch after him, but it has been very difficult to watch with him as well. I stopped watching because I saw him do that a lot of times, and once he basically dribbled the goalie, beat the goalie, meaning that's it. The goalie is completely out of the play. But it chose to fall. It chose to pretend that there was contact instead of kicking the ball into the goal. He wasn't awarded a penalty kick at that time. There wasn't a goal. But even if there was a penalty kick awarded, it would have been so ridiculous because the only thing that he needed to do was literally just blow toward the ball, and the ball would have gone in. And he chose the dishonesty to gain advantage. And that to me is a symbol of Brazilian and South American corruption in general. However, that's not Brazilian. This has been a part of the game forever. And when we talk about things that annoy us, I understand the elements that Americans don't like. Americans don't like the fact that there aren't substitutions. Americans don't like the fact that there aren't timeouts. Americans don't like the fact that players get tired because of those two elements, right? And they play pretty much straight for about 47 minutes in the first half and about 50, like let's say 48 to 50 minutes in the second half on average, which means a game normally goes to about, let's say, 97 minutes, 94 to 97 minutes on average, well, 95 to 97 minutes on average. Players get tired. Soccer as a team sport. I think under rowing and water polo is the sport that demands the most endurance out of players. It is the sport in the world that athletes run the most miles or kilometers, right? They run about 13 kilometers per game, and then you have the situation about 7 miles per game. And then when it comes to basketball, it's number 2, actually. They run a lot. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 5 miles per game. But then hockey, it's about 1.24. It's the least of the American sports, of course. It depends on baseball. Depends on a lot of things, but baseball they do run a lot. But still, hockey requires a lot of skill. Hockey is in most lists the sport that requires the most. It's not I forgot what they call it, but it's not necessarily skill, but what requires the most physical effort, that's hockey, ice hockey. And I'm fine with that because that doesn't take away anything from soccer. Americans don't like the fact that the scores are scarce because it's a long pitch. It's difficult to get the ball where you want to. It is unfortunately more and more common in the past, I'd say 30, 35 years, for teams to be more defensive, which means a team that doesn't want to lose doesn't have to play. They don't have a rule that they have to cross the midfield in a certain amount of time. And so they don't have a rule that they have to actually shoot the ball into the goal. Those are things that annoy Americans. But when you talk about pretending to be fouled as one of them, it's ridiculous, being that the NBA is the number 2 most watched sport behind the NFL, and not by far, because the NBA just has too many regular season games versus the NFL for obvious reasons. But when it comes to the playoffs as a whole, maybe one game is not considered as important as the Super Bowl, but a lot of people watch it. It's the second most liked and most watched event in the United States. And players fake injuries, not fake injuries, sorry, fake fouls all the time. It's number one, foul baiting, the flopping, the acting. Now, in an 82 regular season, in an 82 game regular season, you have a situation in which there are games in which you see, Jimmy Butler falling. I'm, as a fan, concerned that he may be injured, and then he's just winking and laughing. That did not have any consequence to the game or the season or anything else. It was just a moment. That's not a big deal. But of course, when it happens in most important games, in more important games, and it happens with the best players. It happens with Joel Embiid a lot. This guy has great talent. Why does he foul bait so much? Why is he so proud of that? That's cultural. That is very cultural. Meaning, Americans understand that they can also gain an advantage by doing X and Y. It's not so much in the NFL. The ridicule that I could say in the NFL is the fact that wide receivers are tackled while having their backs and necks extending and looking up. It's just ridiculous. Or hockey, that a fight erupts every 3 minutes, like I said. And you can throw a punch and not be immediately ejected. Those are things that I think are ridiculous. But at the end of the day, I cannot say that I don't take it seriously. That was definitely a sore loser attitude from this guy, or girl, or gal, when they basically talked about that. Now, as far as Americans and their relationship with soccer, or Canadians and their relationship with soccer in the Copa America, I've also read someone say, oh, it's ridiculous. Copa America is such a weak championship because after 2 games you can qualify to the quarterfinals. Well, that's the way that the World Cup works, right? You have 3 group games, right? 3 group stage games. If you win 2 of those, you have 6 points. A win is 3 points. You get 6 points. That's it. You're on to the next stage. It's just that the World Cup also has more teams, so it's last 16 and then quarterfinals. So there is an extra step over there. Is Copa America the easiest cup in the world? By far not. You have CONCACAF, you have the Asian, for God's sake, you have the Oceania Championship, you have the Asian Championship, you have the African Championship. Not that those are necessarily easy, but the quality of football, or soccer, is not as good as the quality of soccer in South America, by far, truly by far. And the same thing goes for Central America and North America. The quality of CONCACAF has nothing on CONMEBOL, but CONMEBOL, meaning the Copa America, does not have qualifying games like the Euro Cup. So I did watch, and I was actually sad that England lost. I was actually rooting for England. I have nothing against England or Spain or any other team in Europe. I don't like Cristiano Ronaldo in particular, so I guess I wasn't very much rooting for Portugal. But if they got there, why not? But I do want England to win. There is this kind of anecdotal situation in which England doesn't get the men, the national men's team does not get a significant trophy in, or hasn't gotten it, and I don't know how long. I guess, what, the 1960s? Somebody's going to correct me if at all. But something like that. And I really wanted England to be the one. They were not the favorites, and they didn't win. They didn't win by a little bit of a detail. They unfortunately they wanted to attack when it was a little bit too late. They should have just protected their lead. Have 11 in their own field, in a backfield. But in any case, that's besides the point. As much as I am sad about it, of course, the Euro Cup has more quality and more talent. But the number one ranked team in the world is Argentina. Number two is France. I forget who is number three. I know Brazil is number four. Brazil, in 3 occasions, has had the largest stints as number one, from 1994 to 2001, from 2002 to 2007, and from 2011 to 2014. Brazil has won and has accumulated so many points that they stayed in number one for all this time. But then from 2014 till now, it's been very difficult to watch Brazilian soccer, and that includes Neymar years, by the way. But Copa America does not have a qualifying stage because there are only 10 countries in Copa America, so all of them qualify. So somebody asked me, Rafael Patpat actually asked me, about Canada. Was it like the Miami seed Miami Heat as an 8 seed get into the finals? No. First of all, because Miami Heat had talent. Canada has talent, but not the talent that you were looking for in a top tier team. Canada has lost against Argentina, the number one ranked team, in the group stage and then the semifinals. That's how it happened. They lost against Uruguay, which would be considered, let's say, the number 3 ranked team, more or less, in South America. More, if you think about it, more in terms of favoritism and what's happening right now, more than just the FIFA rank. They won against Peru, who, at least in South America, would be considered probably around the 7th seed or maybe 8th seed out of 10 in the penalty kicks. They won against Chile, who, probably could be considered something like the 4th place in South America, but not really. They have played really badly as of late, just like Brazil, and they played badly against Canada, but they barely lost against Canada. Venezuela barely lost against Canada. Peru barely lost against Canada. And so, no, it wasn't a campaign like that. But at least they got farther. Can't disrespect that. Have to admire the fact that they got farther. And in the end of the day, we'll see today who gets to be the champion. I know Spain is the champion of the Euro Cup. To them, that's as important as the World Cup, if not more, because they only get to play European teams, which are the top tier today in soccer, inarguably. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I guess the main message here is just to not disrespect sports. Every sport deserves its respect. To not say you don't take a sport seriously because, it's played with this and that. Man, you don't know why people love it, but even if you only have 100 people that love it, you can't ridicule it. But you truly can't ridicule a sport that is loved by the most developed and developing nations in the world. So come on, you gotta be a little bit more intellectually honest than saying, but I didn't take it seriously because this happens. Well, your sport is not immaculate either. Okay. Let's go Colombia.